Good afternoon. I hope you are doing well. So, today, what we're going to talk about is a pertinent aspect that not only applies to the SAT and ACT, but also to standardized tests that would help someone get into nursing school, such as the T's and even the MCAT or graduate school for like the GRE. And that is the aspect of effective reading. So before I get into that detail of talking about effective reading, as well as the way to approach the questions associated with the passage, I want to go ahead and show you the program that I use in order to give my lessons. And that is a program called Cami. And real quickly, what it allows me to do is to share this link with you, the student, and that link is being shared, and that any annotation, any mark that needs to be made, any work that needs to be made will always be shared, and you can come back to it whenever you want to. So for example, if it's an assignment that I can check in on the during the week once it's assigned, and I will see the progress that's being made. Now, back to effective reading. Oftentimes when we have these passages, we get overwhelmed and over bogged down with the aspect of the details. And the important thing to note is that in effective reading, the major purpose is to focus on the main ideas. So what is a main idea? A main idea what is exactly what the author is trying to say? What is the key point? Typically, these can be found, and not only is it the main idea of a sentence, but can also be that of a paragraph, but it can also be the overall main idea of the entire passage. But for today's lesson, I want to just talk about an aspect of looking at one paragraph. Typically, you're going to find the main idea at the beginning of a paragraph, like the thesis sentence of a paragraph. And oftentimes, you'll find it at the end of a paragraph. You think about writing, at the end of a paragraph is the purpose to start another idea. However, there are also times in which you'll have main ideas, and those are going to be located at transitions. So the author might be stating a sentence, and then you'll see something that's very obvious, such as, however, on the other hand, or something as simple as the word yet. So the important aspect here is to be able to focus on those main ideas and then accelerate through the details, not get bogged down by the details or examples. Now, equally important to effective reading, and that is the aspect of active reading. In other words, to make certain to annotate. In other words, take notes on what those main ideas are. Why? Because we have a two-track mind when it comes to reading. It's what we're reading on one hand. On the other hand, it's what's going through our head. So again, some people can be more focused than others. But the important thing about the active reading is to annotate those main ideas. And again, this will lead into the aspect of how to approach the questions because of the fact that the main ideas are a considerable portion on this aspect of the reading section of the SAT, ACT, and again, like I said, higher level up standardized tests such as the T's, GRE, and even the MCAT. So let's look at this first paragraph here. And I want to basically be able to, what you need to be able to do is to annotate. And that's why I love this document, this Cami aspect so well, because it can be shared between the student and myself, and so that we can work on the collaborative aspect during the week. So what you really want to do is basically say, what is the main point that the author is trying to state? And you want to put it in, when you annotate, you don't have to put it in difficult terms. It's just a way for you to make certain that you're exactly stating what is the purpose or what the statement is trying to be made by the author, and you can even use it in your own words. Okay, so if we look at this first paragraph here, every day millions of shoppers hit the stores in full force, both online and on foot, searching frantically for the perfect gift. Now, this is where we need to basically stop. The important thing is, because again, about that two-track mind, if we keep going and reading, are we going to remember what is mentioned in the very first part that we've read? Now, is that a main idea? Absolutely. And when you annotate this aspect, make it simple. Americans, let's see here. We'll just put Americans spend. You could even use the money sign on gifts on a daily basis. That is your main, that is the first main idea. Now, the way that these passages are structured is that typically you'll have a main idea and then you'll have the details. And these details can be in the form of examples, okay? Or they could be in the form of a list or anything that's going to be supporting what that main idea is. And you're going to want to just accelerate through those until you get to the next main idea. So let's look at the next sentence. Last year, Americans spent $30 billion at retail stores in the month of December alone. Again, that is just a detail supporting what we already annotated as the main idea. Aside from purchasing holiday gifts, people buy regular presents from other occasions throughout the year, including weddings, birthdays, anniversaries, graduations, and baby showers. Again, this is still details that are supporting that main idea about how Americans spend money on gifts on a daily basis. Okay, so again, those are just the details you can run through. Now, again, sometimes the transitions are very obvious. On the other hand, for example, would be a transition. Sometimes it's not as transparent. But if we look at this next sentence, the frequent experience of gift giving can engender ambivalent feelings in gift givers. Now, this brings up the second aspect about effective reading, in that sometimes the vocabulary might not be strong in your area, but that's why we can actually use the details in order to infer of what the main idea, the new main idea is. So look at these last couple sentences here. Many relish the opportunity to buy presents because gift giving offers a powerful means to build stronger bonds with one's closest peers. At the same time, many dread the thought of buying gifts. They worry that their purchase will disappoint rather than delight the intended recipient. So again, it's important to put this aspect, so some like giving gifts. And again, for the reason here, it's build bonds. Again, just something that is factual and that will make certain that it gets the point across, and you are putting this in your own words because it builds bonds. However, some do not. And the reason for pointing this out is, as we get to this next aspect of approaching the question, and again, some do not because it disappoints others. So again, here's the overall aspect. We'll stop at that point. Now again, remember, you'll probably have a paper test in which you can quickly write down these notes, that annotations. But the overall aspect here is that now you can take this paragraph and you will continue to do that to each paragraph. And so that you will, first off, you'll be able to, if somebody asks you, so what was the first paragraph about? You can even use your common lay voice and terms. Oh, Americans spend a lot of money on gifts on a daily basis. Some like doing it because it helps them build bonds, but some others do not like it because they're afraid it might disappoint somebody. That's it. All of those details do not need to be used. Okay? They can be skipped through. The other important, so as you go throughout the entire passage and do this aspect of the effective reading, focusing on the main ideas, you also need this active aspect of reading in making those notes. Because as you'll see, when it gets down to the questions, you're going to rely upon that. Rely upon your own annotations of the main ideas in order to just build your story. So let's look at some of just a couple questions to show how we approach these questions. Now, if we look at the answers, or if we don't look at the answers actually, and that's what you'll notice what I have done here is I've actually covered these answers up with that black box. Now, of course, in the middle exam, you can't draw a black box and a square and shade it in. But what you do have is your hand. And the reason being is because the answers on these types of tests are there to try to mislead you, or they could be out of scope. What I mean by that is they could over-embellish the author's opinion, or they could over-embellish an aspect, or actually state something that isn't factual within what the author included in his own work. Or they could ask about something in paragraph 2, but you might have remembered it in paragraph 4, and it asked for what is the main idea of paragraph 2. So again, the answers are there to trick you. So that is why relying upon these annotations are going to be very, very helpful in regards to this aspect. So let's look at this first question, and that is it's called the CARE method. You're going to cover your answers, and you're going to anticipate what the answer would be based upon your annotations. The author most likely uses the examples in lines 1 through 9 of the passage, starting with wherever he down to showers, to highlight well, if we go back up to our main idea, what was our main idea? Americans spend money on gifts on a daily basis. Okay? And so again, it goes through the details of how often they do it, where they do it, what reasons they do it. So you can actually anticipate what the answer is going to be based upon your own annotations and the facts. So again, what would your possible answer be on this? Oh, what do you think they're highlighting? What is the main idea? How about possibly, to again reiterate, maybe the frequency or how often gifts are bought? So then the next aspect of the CARE method, cover, anticipate. The R is for reveal. Reveal those answers to see how much your anticipated answer lines up. Well, we have A, regularity, and then the E is for eliminate. So it's always best to eliminate the incorrect before jumping on an actual answer. Well, regularity of which people shop for gifts. Now that looks almost identical to what we annotated with the main idea. So we're going to definitely keep that one. Recent increase in the amount of money. That wasn't discussed. That wasn't even the main idea. Anxiety gift shopping causes for consumers. Number of special occasions involving gift giving. Now, they do mention the occasions, but is that the main idea? No, it talked about the frequency of and how Americans are buying gifts every day. So again, going back to that annotation and main idea will allow you to correctly select the appropriate answer. Now, the other aspect, just to mention, in regards to effective reading, comes into play when you have the aspect of words in context. In this next question, it asks about in line 10. And if you notice, a lot of these aspects, when you have questions line 17 to 34, 41 to 44, again, as you have annotated the entire passage by the end of the time where you are approaching the questions, you'll have either your main ideas because you want them to line up right next to your own annotations, but in some cases, you just want to basically just be able to identify the area and you'll know what it's about already because you've written it in your own words in less than a couple sentences for each paragraph. But if we look at the other aspect, it's another important aspect of effective reading when it asks for what the word ambivalent means. Now, again, your annotations play a huge role here. If we look at line 10, this frequent experience of gift giving can engender ambivalent feelings in gift givers. Well, again, you might not know exactly just from that sentence alone. That's why you always need, when it ever asks for what a word means in context, to read a little ahead, but in some cases, read afterwards. Look at your own annotations. Some like giving gifts because it builds bonds. Some do not because it disappoints others. So some like, some do not like. So if you think about the word, what the aspect of the description details about ambivalent feelings, like, unlike, they contradict or conflict. Could be another aspect of what ambivalent means. You anticipate that answer, and then you will look and see, and by goodness, there is conflicted in as one of the aspects of your answers. So again, this is an aspect that can be go into further detail because other aspects like fiction, instead of main ideas, you're going to be looking at themes and also annotating aspects of how the relationship, how one person feels about another or a situation. So it's a little different, but it's the same overall aspect in regards to making note of those annotations so you can skip the details and have everything lined up. So again, that other aspect that is so important, that of time, is not wasted and it's conserved. And again, the answers will not be out of scope when you're choosing them because you have written down exactly the story in each segment exactly as it was presented by the authors. So, given the topic of this passage being gift giving, I hope that this lesson is my gift to you, and I hope that you use it frequently. And I look forward to seeing you again, and let me know if you have any questions. Have a great day.